Roll up.
Okay.
Yep. You rolling?
Yep, rolling.
Did you get that?
Yep.
Okay. Okay, so... okay.
Yeah.
So, that's how you started being teaching.
Right.
What kept you teaching?
Money. No.
That can't be the reason.
No, not necessarily. I need to make a hell of a lot more than I do to justify that. What kept me teaching is that I'm really, look, the process of acting is the process of the human condition. Yeah, it's the imagination, it's compassion, it's the heart, it's the daily journey of a human being in a specific set of given circumstances, which could be in Russia, China, America, Australia, poor, rich, anything and everything in between, Victorian era, Shakespeare, Elizabethan actually, whatever. I found that being an actor, becoming an actor, was a PhD education for me. I learned so much about so many things that fascinated me. There was never an end to learning, which means I never got bored. Frustrated, thrilled, pissed off, depressed, but never bored. And I love that because I'm easily bored. Unless something challenges me, I'm bored. And I found with teaching it was double so, because I had to deal with the dynamic of the actor and the script, the actor's talent, the actor's psychology, and my own in response to that and in the mix of that. And the journey is how to find the way to bring out the best in the actor, to help the actor become their own best actor, and to serve the material and the talent, and also to serve the entire process of what acting is, which is such a huge, beautiful, rich journey when it's respected. And it isn't always respected. So what kept me engaged and still keeps me engaged is there's nothing more fascinating than the human condition. And so being able to be a part of people understanding that and bringing life to that, which is, just black and white in a piece of paper, and actually flesh and blood and joy and sorrow and behavior and psychology and everything else to that, it's never boring. It's hard work, but it's never boring. So that's what's kept me. And also my own dreams. I have dreams I have desire to direct more, to develop more pieces, to be a master teacher of actors that are truly great actors, live up to their potential and use it in a good way in the service of the writing and the craft and the work and the world at large, as actors like Susan Sarandon do, and as actors like Sean Penn do, and as actors like John Malkovich and Jeff Bridges and Meryl Streep. These people have used so much of their work to make a difference in the world, and Marlon Brando did as well, and to me that's a very important thing, that we really give back and make a difference in the world through the talents that were given to us and our own.
That's good. So there are a lot of acting teachers out there.
A lot.
What makes a good acting teacher or a great acting teacher?
What makes a good acting teacher is a teacher who is educated in terms of what scripts are, what writing is, what good writing is, of film, of theater, somebody who understands a psychology and is willing to be a participant in that without being a demigod or a guru in that. Someone who genuinely cares about an actor, about the craft, about humanity, who is willing to extend themselves and be at risk in that process with the actor, with the script, with the writer, that someone who will stand on an equal piece of ground rather than I'm the one with all the knowledge, and you're just my whatever, peons, inferiors, blah blah. Someone who goes, no, I'm a part of this too, it's a journey, we're all on it. And I get better as you get better, or as we challenge each other.
Cool, yeah.
Actually, wait a minute, sorry. And what else makes a good acting teacher is somebody who will look at what helps that actor more. And sometimes it's letting go of one's ego. Often, most of the time, it's letting go of one's own ego, of what you want them to be, what you want them to do. And that's really challenging because you get into it and you want for them and you want for you. You're human. So you can't not. So what makes a teacher a good teacher and a great teacher is that teacher will at that moment step back and go, this is about really doing the best for them and helping them do the best for themselves. This is not about what I expect or what I want to make happen. I have to step aside and be of service here. And that's really a key part. And we're not able to do it all of the time well. But to have the intention to do that, to have the intention to be of service to the craft, to the actor, and the full commitment through one's own talent and journey to do that. If somebody hasn't gone on the journey of being a good actor and asking themselves a whole lot of questions and struggling in that process, they can't teach it. So it's very hard for anybody who's young and hasn't been around a long, long time and had a lot of heartache to really be a good teacher.
Great. You keep on, in your answer you include so many things that I'm like, oh God, I should ask this next question, this next question, and I'm like, okay, I'm just going to stick with this.
Okay.
What was been the main inspiration for your teaching method?
Okay, I would have to say there are 4 main inspirations. People, we're talking about people and teachers, I would think here, that have inspired me. And the very first one was an Australian guy who was Indigenous called Brian Siren. And as a 17 or 18-year-old, I studied at the ensemble briefly, and Hayes Gordon was a good teacher. For some people, a fantastic teacher. But for me, a guy who came back from America who'd worked with Uta Hagen and Stella Adler, who had not been an actor for very long, but had gone to America because he did not find what he wanted here. Came back to Australia and directed 4 of the top actors in Sydney whom I knew, who were members of the ensemble. And what I saw in their work when he directed them was exactly what I wanted and had not seen anywhere else. I used to watch films with Brando and James Dean and Kim Stanley and, oh my God, so many people. And I would think, well, what is it they're doing that I just don't see here? I just don't see anybody else doing. Because whatever it is, that's what I want. And actually got laughed at by a bunch of people because when they said, well, so, you know, what do you, I went, well, I want to act like Brando. I want to do what he does. Because for me, it was so humanly compelling. It was almost as if he didn't have skin and we could see into his heart and soul. And I felt that way about Kim Stanley and Kim Hunter as well. And oh my gosh, I've been compared to that wonderful actress, Julie Harris. I felt that way about all of their work, and there's a dozen others, but those who come to mind right now. So when Brian came back and started teaching what he'd learned from Stella and Uta, I just went right up to him after I saw the show that he directed, and I said, oh please, are you going to teach? I really have to teach. And he said, okay, give me your number. And he called me, and then I started studying with him with Johnny Hargraves and Max Cullen and Max Phipps and a whole bunch of Sandy Harbert. God, they were really pretty much most of the top actors in Sydney all started taking classes with Brian at that time. And it was he who, after about a year, said, you know what, you can be a big fish in a little pond. He said, you really have what it takes to be a great actor. But he said, you can also go to America and you can study with the greatest teacher and see where that takes you. And he said, I'm very happy to recommend you to her to you, you to her, whatever. And so I started saving my pennies from that moment on. I was determined to go, and a year later I was in New York. I think I was around 21, and I studied with Stella herself. And she terrified me, horrified me, thrilled me, challenged me. I wish I were more the person I am today. Then, when I studied with her, I would have made even more use of it. Oh my God, it changed my life. It was just the most. I wouldn't be who I am now if I hadn't done that. She was a genius and she was a monster. I think a lot of great teachers are, or a lot of great anything are. She probably, of everybody, shaped the way that I teach the most, except that I'm not her. So there's me in that. The next person so it was Brian and it was Stella, and then it was Larry Moss. And he was not a great teacher at that time, or the great teacher. I think he'd been teaching for a year or two and he was good. And he certainly was working in a way that nobody else in New York, or nobody that I'd studied with, was working, which is that he was balancing who you are as a person and what your problems are and your demons are as a person really affects who you're going to be as an actor and what you're going to do, because you may train and you may be technically brilliant or creatively brilliant, but if you've got a lot of negativity or self-hatred or self-destruction, or if you drink too much or smoke too much or whatever, that stuff is going to completely and utterly interfere with your journey, and you need to deal with that as well. And that was going back a little bit to the actor studio stuff of being in therapy, which is what the ensemble was about too. But the way that he did it did not make it mechanical. It really was about yourself as a human being and being the best you could be, which was also what Stella said, but in different ways. And I didn't love his teaching at the time. I do now. And without realizing that, I think because he also studied with Stella. After I studied with him, then he studied with Stella for 2 years, and I had studied with Stella for 3 years. So we have become very much alike as teachers and directors without really either one of us knowing until very recently that. And from his book, certainly I knew that. And he really influenced me. It's interesting because the way that we learn in certain things we learn right away, we can use right away, and other things, the penny doesn't drop in, or they don't completely inform us or shape